All right, guys, we are back again. We are talking about letter number three, the fifth dimension, and we are going to continue our same conversation. So, Ron, how are you, and how was your Easter?
Hi, Val. I'm doing great. Easter was very peaceful and quiet here. It was very, very nice. How was yours?
Pretty good. Yes, did not overeat, did not overspend, and I still have leftover jelly beans. So it was a good Easter.
That reminds me, my wife normally buys a case of Peeps before Easter, and she didn't do that this year.
Okay, so we are talking about letter number three.
Uh, so Christ kind of backed up a little bit, and he said, for those of you who read these words, do not dare to deny the truth that he speaks until that they too, meaning us, have walked the path of self-renunciation that he walked on earth and reach the same union with the Father, the God, the Mother, all there is, uh, and the heights of incontrovertible knowledge and understanding that he possessed. When you have achieved all this, you will no longer have any desire to deny the truth. And he speaks to us, but we'll be unable to restrain ourselves from joining him in teaching our fellow people on earth. Until that time, hold our peace and let no one know our ignorance. That we are all spiritual beings in a illusion here on Earth that's made of protons and electrons in different shapes and forms, which could all go and dissolve back into just pure energy at any time. The only thing that's real is our consciousness that we talked about, and the fact that we will join that um, side and across the veil eventually. He's saying, how often do people throughout the world embrace his teachings as being highly moralistic and perfect and formulated great guidelines, good behavior for daily living, but then they say, stories of some of these miracles, there's just no way. Uh, It's an aberration of natural laws. We think, we feel, we know this is solid, right, in front of us, but that's truly an illusion in our existence. So what is real is that we did incarnate here. We have a soul that is connected with God just as much as when Christ was on earth. He did too. He's made a distinction here many times. He's no different than us. And this we're here to learn a lesson. Basically, is what we're doing. There's a highly evolved flesh and body person just like us who came to Earth, but he was at that precipice where he was able to um, transcend. And I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but to become very uh, when he was on Earth, he wasn't perfect. But he was on his way very well in a very good place, and that he tried to emulate for us that how we could be. Um, he now reading some actually in another part of the letters, he talks about where he is now. He is nearly perfect, and even now, after he's risen with the other ascended masters, still not perfect. I think it'd be hard for us to differentiate what that would be that he's not. But he says, we're in his existence right now. It's not quite where the I hate, as I said before, I use the word God, but the all there is, the mother, father, creative force, that is perfect. And where he at is nearly perfect, is what he says. So uh, we, all of us, I think it's pretty safe to say we have a long way to go to get to that. He said, when we have that type of thought that we can never get there, we're actually building a barrier to our future progress. And he's given us the keys here. He talks about the scientific part of our world, the atomic theory, how uh, substances exist in this world, and they are just protons, electrons, ra rapidly running around. There's a repulsion, rejection, as he puts it, uh, from the very basic atomic level that continues all the way through everything, literally in life, how things are put together, uh, how objects in the world react with one another, whether it be plants and animals or human beings or whatever the case may be. There's a living cycle, there's a cycle for death, if you will, and regeneration and renewal. And he's saying you got to take all that in, and it's a lot, and it's not going to happen overnight.
How would you suggest though, like if I clicked on this video and I'm just now getting started, there are some buzzwords I saw that landed me on this page. How would I get started? How do I know? Um, of course, I went, I had religion when I was younger. And now that I'm older and I'm kind of on my own and I have to make my own decisions, it's hard for me to follow those type of teachings when I'm out here trying to figure it out on my own.
Well, we all have to start from wherever we're at, right? And that goes from somebody who's an atheist to somebody who, whatever, in whatever religion, wherever you're at, right there. Yeah, and I think the basis here is you need to be searching.
I
If you're
agree.
perfectly satisfied with wherever you're at, stay there. Nobody's trying to change your mind. You're not ready yet. But if you are searching, read the letters. And there's not a phrase or a trick or anything to that. It's really a process, and you have to want to do it. And the letters are very, very complete in how to get there and in their explanation of how things work. And you just have to decide for yourself if it's right for you. You definitely, and Christ is saying here, again, and it kind of dovetails with what you're just saying. He did not come to earth to introduce a new religion or a higher moral code that was given to everybody through the Ten Commandments. His purpose was to bring about a new perception of God as a creator and understanding of existence itself, which was, the atomic things we've talked about and how um, everything is made out of the same basic protons, electrons. And out of that knowledge, when you look at them holistically, that's when you come into your new way of life. He's saying that the correct attitude that we should all have in this third millennium since he was here and walked on the earth is to acknowledge that the miracles that he performed are definitely beyond the capabilities of the average human being at this time. However, such miracles are examples of what can be achieved in the future when people's minds are fully imbued with the true knowledge of existence, and also through faith and meditation and prayer, and you're fully attuned and imbued to the universal life, love consciousness, which we call God. Um, when he's asking here, was it true that he walked on water when his disciples boarded the boat and crossed the lake? If you read the biblical account, he's saying that you'll realize the disciples left him behind, and he yearned for an opportunity to withdraw from all human contact. He needed a break. So he retired to the hills and entered his favorite cave, where he had a little place set up where he was able to go and meditate, and he allowed his consciousness to merge to the universal dimension of the God consciousness. And he had a really heavy-duty meditation session there. And while he was in that spiritual state, transcending human consciousness, all of his awareness of the physicality disappeared, and he ecstatically was lifted to the universal stream of life that he knew was the universal life and the reality of his beingness. Uh, Everything else that he realized was temporary in appearance around him. And he slipped beyond the earthly consciousness into the life consciousness, which, you know, more of a godlike state, where his consciousness, and that we might have talked about this before, but somebody has an out of body experience or a near death experience, if they have die and come back. I believe those are very similar, and it's called the fifth dimension, where you're not fully risen, but you're not here any longer. Your consciousness kind of part starts pulling away. And many accounts of people through near-death experiences, and there's many other mystic psychics or people who have studied this, and a good friend of mine, Tiffany, who is a very good mentor, said she has done this before too. And she said, the first time you do it, it's pretty scary and it's pretty wild, because you're no longer in control of your body. You are out of it. Your mind is floating up here, and people are going to laugh and say, "Ha, bullshit,"
Hmm.
But I believe it happens. And I
Oh, for
believe that's
sure.
what happened. What Christ is saying here too, that it happened where he was able to leave the body temporarily and see and be aware of everything going around them. That's the consciousness that lives on once we do leave this earth and do cross over. That stays live continuously, and that's part of the God force that's within all of us.
So, guys, I know this is a lot to take in, right? I know that when people start talking about, that space between death and crossing over or coming back to life, it can be a little scary, right? But just read the letters and take it in. I don't know anyone that did that, Ron, and I honestly am now very, very curious about it.
Well, Val, I actually have an audio meditation. I'm probably not going to say the name properly, but I think the guy's name was called Sufyan Sufri or something like that.
Mhm.
Um, I believe he's of Indian descent and he's a native Australian from what his description is. And he's got a meditation series that's available that, if we are close enough to do so, could take us to the fifth dimension. I've been through it a few times and I've not been there, but I've never really been able to um, run the full. It's fairly long meditation and it's in parts, but you need to keep after it for a while. So I play with that every now and then, hoping that maybe I can get to that point someday.
I
I'll
love it.
share it. Oh yeah, I just Christ just further explained here, when he was floating out of his cave, he could see his disciples on the lake, and he knew they were in distress. And effortlessly, he floated down over the hill toward the shore, and as he began to regain contact with his normal human concerns, in this case, his disciples, he found himself coming to rest on the water. But he was still in a condition where he was fully realized that his life was individualized and his body was suffused with life power, and it continued to lighten and transform the atomic structure of his physical state. And that's, again, a bunch of heavy stuff there. But,
Yeah.
it's wild to think about, but it's exciting.
I agree with you. Like I'm sitting here thinking, as you're talking, I'm trying to imagine the state that he was in, trying to put myself in that same, yeah, that's a lot.
With that said, we will probably pick up on just after that on the next session. But read the letters. Hopefully, you've inspired somebody here to think differently, because that's what this is all about.
And guys, I noticed like the trend is, um, after you start reading the letters, after you start, getting familiar with the words that we're talking about, and you get a better understanding, like we're reading the letters as well. This will all start to make more sense to you. Yes, and so is Ron. So again, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you in our next video. Now,
All right, yeah, thanks, Val, and yeah, great to be here again, and we'll see you very soon on the continuation. Thank you.